Politics Unplugged, and the month of September figures to be a big one in Congress. There are two separate bills designed to improve our infrastructure, and they're getting most of the attention, but they are also key debates over voting rights and other issues. And joining me now to discuss this is Representative Debbie Lesko. Thank you very much here for joining us today. It's good to see you. It's been a long time. Let's start, though, with like the big story happening right now. The withdrawal in Afghanistan continues. It has certainly escalated there with the death of servicemen and women who are over there right now. Our thoughts and prayers obviously go out to them and their families. Now, other members of the Arizona delegation, Republicans, Andy Biggs, have now called for Biden to, resign, to leave office. I want to get your take on what you've been seeing play out with this withdrawal, and what do you think should happen?
The withdrawal has been a total disaster, and we can see it on the ground now. With our U.S. service members killed, many people injured. I've been in multiple briefings, congressional briefings. Some have been classified, some have not. I believe that Secretary of State Blinken is totally incompetent. I believe he has lied to Congress on different times. He has started out his first briefing that I got last week. He said, "We promise you we will have a safe and orderly withdrawal." Well, that is a joke, because less than 24 hours after he said that, there was major problems in Afghanistan. I believe that both Biden and Blinken should resign. Even Democrats have complained about this withdrawal. The question is not if we should have withdrawn. The question is how he did it. How he did it. And I have talked to multiple Congress members who are veterans who served in Afghanistan, some of them generals, and said this is the most unconscionable thing that could possibly have happened, and it lies in the hands of Biden. This is a catastrophe.
Now, given what you've had the classified, unclassified briefings on this, how could this have been avoided? We've been at war in Afghanistan for 20 years. Have you seen a way that this could have been avoided? How, given in hindsight now, knowing what you know now, how would you have done this differently, or how should this have been done differently?
Well, I rely on my fellow Congress members that are decorated veterans and have served in Afghanistan and have been there, and also have people on the ground telling them what is going on versus what Biden and Blinken tell us what's going on, which is sometimes different. Basically, we should not have given up Bagram Airport. I understand that the reason that happened is because Biden specifically wanted a certain number of troops to go down to a certain number, and they were unable to then defend that airfield because Biden made this random decision that he only wanted X number of troops there. And that was before they withdrew the American citizens, before they withdrew the special immigration visa people. This has been totally botched. So I am relying on congressional members who are decorated veterans. One is a general. Another one actually was Mark Green. Congressman Mark Green was the one that inspected Saddam Hussein when he was a doctor, when he was captured. So these are respected people. They know people on the ground. They have people on the ground. It's a total disaster.
Do you support, in general, the withdrawal? As you know, we all know that former President Donald Trump actually negotiated that withdrawal. Withdrawing, everything else aside, is that the right thing to do right now, or should we have stayed?
I supported the withdrawal. I support the withdrawal. The question is how you withdrew. And if we should have left a small contingency of troops there, as President Trump did, it was 2,500. Then Biden brought it down even further, which was a total disaster before we got the citizens out. We still have troops in Korea, in Germany. This is a strategic place that we should have some small number of troops there, at least for intelligence.
And so I want to move on now, as we mentioned at the top of the show. September going to be a big month in the House. A lot of big votes coming up. You've got the bipartisan infrastructure package. You've got the other big budget bill. Where are you on both of these? It seems like, at least with that infrastructure package, there was bipartisanship over in the Senate. Are you willing to support it over in the House?
I'm voting no on both, and I'll tell you why. The $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, less than 10% of it actually goes for roads and bridges. It's short on how much it's not paid for. They said it was going to be paid for. Even the Congressional Budget Office said it's $256 billion short. That will add to our deficit. It will add to our debt. It has no money whatsoever for border security, which is a total joke, because we have a huge crisis going on at the southern border. It also has other negative things for Arizona in it. For instance, more money per person goes to the blue states on the East Coast that have left their roads and bridges deteriorate, versus in Arizona, where we have had our constituents had paid for tax increases all along. I think it was Proposition 400, if I remember, to build roads, build infrastructure, but we're being penalized, and so the blue states are getting more money on the East Coast. That's not fair to Arizona. I am definitely voting no on the $3.5 trillion Bernie Sanders radical bill. That's just chocked full of radical Democrat policies. You know it's bad when even Kirsten Sinema says she's not going to vote for $3.5 trillion.
So what needs to be, what would you agree to then? What would you want to see, particularly with the infrastructure package? We've seen a lot of reporting. There's been a lot of talk that, the country's infrastructure has been crumbling, roads, bridges, things like that. What needs to be done? What would you be willing to accept?
I think if there was a smaller package that just dealt with roads and bridges, water infrastructure, but this goes beyond that. There's a lot of money in here for Amtrak, for transit, even though transit like subways and those type of things already got billions of dollars with the COVID relief funds. I mean, at a certain point, we have to be respectful of taxpayer dollars. I mean, we're already trillions of dollars in debt. Our interest payment is going to surpass what we spend on the Department of Defense soon. This is unsustainable. And this $3.5 trillion bill, the Bernie Sanders bill that the Democrats are pushing through and called us back for instead of calling us back for Afghanistan, this will add $68 trillion in spending over the next 10 years. That is more continued spending than we have had in American history. It will add another $17 trillion in debt. So by 2031, we'll be at $45 trillion in debt in America. This is totally unsustainable. It's bad for our national security. It's bad for America. It will lead to inflation, higher taxes. This is bad policy by Biden.
All right, and last question, and quickly too, you're voting no on this. When you go back to your voters, other than saying I voted down bad bills, what do you say that Congress has actually done for them? Because when you're just voting no on things, it plays into that whole narrative, into that whole conception that it's a do-nothing Congress. What do you say you've got done for your constituents over in the west side of the valley?
Well, there's a lot of bills that I've done and helped them, and especially constituents. Lots of constituents call me, and we give them help each and every day for federal agencies, and also helping people get out of Afghanistan. But also during the COVID crisis, when it first began, Congress, including me, passed legislation that would help small businesses, help people that were out of jobs because the government shut down their jobs with mandates. And so then I think it's justified. It's justified if government shuts down people's businesses and people can't work, then government needs to step up and help those people, and I supported that cause.
All right, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, always great talking to you, and we'll see you next